Dark Deception Chapter 5 is one of the longest awaited chapter releases in the indie horror space. It's been nearly 5 years since Chapter 4 came out, and in that time, so many spin-offs for Dark Deception were made. One of these had already existed before Chapter 4 came out, but everything else came during the wait for Chapter 5. Super Dark Deception, the books, Roblox, Fortnite, Minecraft, and even the movie were all announced and some even released before Chapter 5. Because of this, and with these spin-off reveals that just keep on coming, there's a large crowd of people who are like, just finished Chapter 5, anything but Chapter 5, why do they keep making new things instead of working on Chapter 5? It looks like a lot of people think that these spin-offs are holding Chapter 5 back and taking away from its development. But are they actually? Well, we've come to the right place because I'll be talking about why they mostly don't, and why they might affect Chapter 5's development, but not in the way that you might think. Now, the biggest piece of evidence that the development of these spin-offs don't affect Chapter 5 is the fact that all these spin-offs are being developed by different teams. That means that they didn't break down the Chapter 5 development team and got some of them to work on Super Dark Deception, Hunted, the Fortnite build, and obviously, the games that are being developed by completely different game studios like House 2 and The Bagman that have been getting a little scrutiny here and there because they're being published by Glowstick, and there's a handful of people who think that this means that Glowstick themselves are making these games, which they're not, so none of these games are affecting each other's development. The only thing that might be worked on by the same team working on Chapter 5 is Enhanced Plus, since they're part of the same game, and Enhanced Plus mainly exists because Chapter 5's quality improved so much since the start of its development to the point that it cannot be in the same game as the current build. We don't really know this though, so take it with a grain of salt, but this does lead into my next point, that the only real way these other projects could affect Chapter 5 is the lineup that directly leads up to Chapter 5. Before Chapter 5 comes out, we will be getting Enhanced Plus. But before Enhanced Plus comes out, we are due to see changes in Enhanced Plus first in Super Dark Deception Chapter 2, which means that it will need to come out before Enhanced Plus. And to top it all off, Super Dark Deception Chapter 3 and Dark Deception Chapter 5 will be coming out at the same time, so both of those need to be done before any of them can be released. So what we really need to take into account is how far along in development each of these are. Super Dark Deception Chapter 2 is right around the corner and might be released by the time I finally upload this video. Enhanced Plus is still a work in progress and looks to be pretty far along from the outside, but if I had to guess, just a guess, Chapter 5 might be further along in completion than Enhanced Plus is, because Holiday Horror, a level that was supposed to release in Chapter 5, is releasing with the second release of Enhanced Plus, when the Chapter 4 levels get re-released. And as for Super Dark Deception Chapter 3, that one's actually closer to completion than Dark Deception Chapter 5 is, despite beginning development much later than Chapter 5 and Chapter 2 being the main focus up until recent times. So now that we've debunked the common assumption that spin-offs and other projects negatively affect Chapter 5 and slow down its development, what about the ways that these spin-offs could be positively affecting Chapter 5? Let's go back to when Chapter 4 came out. It was praised for being this huge passion project made by only a small handful of people, and this was before most of these spin-offs existed. Only Monsters and Mortals was a thing back then, but now there are like around 30 people working on Chapter 5, and there are many spin-offs all with their own teams. So it looks like this franchise is growing and is bringing in money so that this many people can work on Chapter 5 and not just 3 people, which means that Chapter 5 is being made better and faster than it would have originally been. And some of the funding of this very likely came from the spin-offs. Even Monsters and Mortals 1, famously having 0 players on Steam most of the time these days, is still making enough profit to keep them working on it. And yes, I said Monsters and Mortals 1 because they said they might make a second version if this one dies out. With all that being said, I know that the wait for Chapter 5 is exhausting at times, but the spin-offs really aren't to blame for this. If you want the real reasons why Chapter 5 is taking so long, I've made a video on this which I will link below. Instead, the spin-offs are a good thing for Dark Deception, and maybe even Chapter 5.